TIFU by accidentally burning my colleague's accommodation to just its brick walls. This happened February 2023 in Kashmir, India. And few others ended up getting posted as postgraduate trainee doctors in different specialties at one of the most peripheral hospital in Kashmir. Maybe you've heard about it in the news, but Kashmir has a difficult relationship with India, and since we come from different parts of India, we were very worried about how the locals would react to us. So us outsiders stuck together and formed a close bond that we still have. We would share our resources and help each other out however we could. So the woman in our group is an Afghan trainee who was rightfully given the best accommodation the hospital could provide. She was provided a small single-story 2 BAAH brick house surrounded by brick walls and an iron gate. It had running water and a geyser and 24/7 electricity. She let us have a copy of her key and let us use it whenever she wasn't. For us who've never experienced winter nor snow before, this was heaven. Our own accommodation was fine, but the bathrooms needed a lot of fixing before it could be used by humans. We did see a bunch of carbon monoxide deaths from indoor gas heaters and a lot of burn patients coming to our casualty. Even the locals warned us to be careful when using electronics, to avoid using gas heaters, and to switch everything off when you're asleep or not home. But you don't really learn something just in theory, especially me. I learned from mistakes, best. And boy, did I learn. The fateful night, I was back from my duty and I wanted a bath. My Afghan colleague had overnight duty in the labor room, so I was free to use the bathroom. I did everything I needed to do, and I left after I thought I had turned everything off, except the night light. It was snowing pretty hard that night, and it looked particularly beautiful in the moonlight, so I figured I should go out for a night walk alone. I got back to her quarters after about 3 hours. I think it was around 3 a.m. at the time. I don't remember exactly what brought me back there, and honestly from this point, the whole thing is a blur. I'll try to recall as best I can. I believe it was the loose wires hanging dangerously low from the weight of the snow that got my attention. It was hanging right over her quarters and almost touching the iron gate. I saw it sparking as well. I called the hospital electrician and told him about the situation, and I figured I should stick around and make sure he comes and fixes it. I got closer to check out the situation. That's when the smell hit. Smell of burning plastic. I looked around for smoke, but I couldn't see any, and only now did alarm bells started ringing in my head. Thick black smoke rushed out of the door and hit my face like a truck. I was blinded for a couple of seconds, but immediately managed to close the door. When I got my bearings back and coughed my lungs out, I started calling everyone. I called my colleague and she was sleeping and didn't believe me at first. I didn't care to explain myself much further, as I was more relieved by the fact that she wasn't home at the time. Another friend and colleague, a local, came first to the scene and immediately rushed in like an idiot and immediately ran back out and drove to the hospital cause he couldn't breathe and needed treatment. Another friend and colleague, a local, came first to the scene and immediately rushed in like an idiot and immediately ran back out and drove to the hospital cause he couldn't breathe and needed treatment. The electrician, administration people came next and commended me for doing such a good job and noticing something that should have gone unnoticed the whole night, before any real damage was done, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. We figured the whole thing happened due to some faulty wiring and the weather. We decided it was better to wait outside further away, as there was a gas cylinder inside the kitchen that could explode anytime, and wait for the fire force to come. The fire department came in about 30 minutes and immediately got to work. They opened the door again and figured out the fire is currently localized to her bedroom, and they decided to break the bedroom windows and pour water in. The moment the windows broke, the fire raged like a monster, and I was feeling so sorry for my friend. Between the fire, smoke and the water being poured in, I knew her clothes and medical books were toast. Atlee asked 2 lakhs worth. Easily $2,400, which is like 4 months' salary. But myself at the time was kinda having the time of my life. Getting compliments every 5 seconds from everyone and patting myself in the back. Felt good for not fucking up for once. Felt like a hero. They put out the fire pretty quick, and by then my friend had come and immediately lost her shit. By then, the fire was put out and the people had dispersed. Figured it was better to assess the damage in the morning. As the fire department was leaving, they told us that they traced the fire to the bed and asked her if she was using a heating blanket. She said yes, and they admonished her for being careless and complimented me again on their way out. I was like, haha, thank you bros, and looked over to her, and she looked like she was ready to strangle me right there. The night light I had left on had the same switch as the heating blanket. The heating blanket was a cheap one that needed to be switched off manually, which she does every night. In my defense, that's dumb was to set things up and not intuitive. In her defense, she calls us every time we've used her house to double check if we've switched everything off, and I went to use her bathroom when she was asleep. The next few months I spend replacing her shit, which she graciously asked that I only replace what was completely damaged, and she'll do with partially damaged books and stuff. Despite my objection, but she was adamant in fixing the misunderstanding that I was a hero in any way, and it was actually my fault that it happened in the first place.